Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how
He's alive!
Welcome to Where the Weird Ones Are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles or they're lizards or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
Hello, you fucking weirdos. My name is Kevin, but you most likely already knew that. And if you didn't, consider yourself informed. Cheers. Anyways, today on the podcast we have Joe. He goes by Joe Hunts Ghosts on Instagram. You should definitely check him out. Check his shit out. He is a paranormal investigator. He is a part of a larger group called War Party Paranormal. Actually has quite a bit of members. They're out of South Florida. He's good friends with Jen Armando, if you don't remember, actually quite a bit of episodes back now. They go by 305 Paranormal, but they're still a part of War Party Paranormal. So, that being said, Joe has a lot of personal experiences, and he actually gets attacked by Batman. But the most intriguing part of his stories is the investigation he did in a cemetery with his siblings. Hence the name Spirit in the cemetery of this episode. I was extremely intrigued by that story for sure. And I'm sure you guys will be as well. He's a wicked good guy, wicked nice guy. I would love to have him on again in the future to talk about, what he's up to, catch up with him in like a year or so from now, see if there's any new things going on with him, especially since he found out that he's a motherfucking empath, bro. He can remote view and shit. Dude. And he's just starting to like practice and develop his skills. So I can only imagine how much better he will be a year from now. So, with that being said, I hope you go all check him out, check his channel out, check War Party out. And yeah, I hope everybody that listens to this on a weekly basis, or if you're new, I hope you enjoy this discussion. Joe is a wicked good guy, so he deserves all the love that can come his way. You guys can send his way. With that being said, what else did I want to talk about? For me, I don't have anything really going on. So, yeah, if you guys have any stories you'd like to share, if you want to be featured on the show, you can hit me up at wheretheweirdonesare@gmail.com. You can follow my Instagram, which is where_the_weirdOnes_are. I share on the Instagram, I share updates and, the episodes that will be coming out. And 16%.com, you can buy cryptid merchandise. They got plushies and shit like that. And you use my code STAYWEIRD, one word, at checkout. And I think that's it. Well, you can also check out this an Etsy, Down the Rabbit Hole. He's got some cool merchandise, some cool shirts. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this show. So definitely get me on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. I will hopefully when I find the time to actually do it, I will get on more platforms. So if anybody doesn't listen or watch YouTube, Spotify, and Apple, I'll be on other shit. So with that, stay fucking weird.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Weird. Get weird.
Really digging the Batman tattoo, by the way.
Thanks, man. Thanks. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. Today on the podcast, I have Joe. Joe, who hunts ghosts.
I do.
He's a part of War Party, correct?
Yes, War Party Paranormal down in South Florida.
Perfect. So we're going to talk about some of his experiences, some of his investigations and whatnot today. I mean, you guys know the drill. So, Joe, why don't you tell the good people a little bit about yourself?
My name's Joe Torino, and I'm an investigator with War Party Paranormal. We are one of the, if not the largest team in South Florida. I'd say overall we have almost 30 members, active members, maybe about 15, 12. But yeah, we're a pretty big team, and we cover pretty much all spectrums. We do a lot of residential cases. We do public events, education. We try to teach people, help people. And that's why we do the events mostly, is not just to get ourselves in front of people, but to also show them, hey, listen, like, there are people that are professionals that know what's going on. So if you're having any issues in your homes, call us, we can help you.
Nice. Real quick, before we dive too far into this, you want to tell everybody where they can find you and all your stuff?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Joe Hunts Ghosts. Had a TikTok, but I deactivated it. I might go back to it at some point. It's just there's just so much going on, and it's tough to be active on social media, at least for me. But the rest of my team is kicking major ass with it. So shout out to Jenny, Armando, Mike, Eric, Scotty, JP, everybody on my team, Franny. You guys are rocking it. So check out warpartyparanormal.com. Or at War Party Paranormal on Instagram, and you could pretty much find everybody else from there.
Nice. So there is one question that I've been really wanting to ask you, and I wanted to ask you organically on here. Mm-hmm. So for everybody who watched the episode with Jen and Armando, Armando tells us a story of where there's a video of his face changing and his attitude completely changes. In that video, I did put it on my Instagram with the link. Obviously, Instagram's weird, so you can't, when you post pictures or whatever, you can't put the link unless you put it in your story. So I just put the link on there and told everybody to copy it and paste. So with that being said, for those of you that don't know, Joe was the man sitting right next to Armando when this all went down. So my question is, from your perspective, how did that situation make you feel?
So it kind of scared me a little bit, to be honest with you. Just because our Jenny and Armando have become really good friends of mine, and to see that and to know that change like immediately, I was like, knowing that that's not Armando, that's not the Armando that I know. And it's kind of weird because I feel like it tried to jump on me first, and I was able to shake it, and then it went after Armando and was able to grab a hold. I mean, Armando wanted to keep going in the session. He's like, no, we're gonna do this now. We're gonna and I was like, no, we're gonna take a break and we're gonna go outside. I think we need to take a walk. Think we need to, separate for a little bit from here.
So essentially, it was your decision for the break.
It was mutual, I would say, between Jenny and myself. I mean, yeah, Jenny. I looked at Jenny. Jenny looked at me, and I told him because he was getting aggressive, and then Jenny started. Jenny. They're a trip. They're a married couple, so they'll start going after each other and bickering. And she's like, "No, like I do it," and I'm like, just chill out. Like he's sitting next to me. The last thing I need is for this dude to like just deck me, like because I'm the closest person. So I was like, let's step outside. Like we're here. We could take a couple minutes break and we go outside. And we went outside, and he just stood outside the door. I was like, no, we're going like as far away from the building as we can. And this is a jail from the 1920s up in North Florida. The fence is still around. The owner gave us, obviously permission to be there that night, and we were locked in. We were literally inside the gate. So it was like, let's go like to the corner of like the yard, get away from this thing, separate. And once he was out there, he was like, hey, and I was like, yo, like, you good? Are you sure? And he's like, no, I'm fine. But either way, we still took some precautions, did a little cleansing. Yeah. Because you know what, that it can't hurt whether some people that believe in that or don't, and you know what, we really don't know. That's part of the whole paranormal thing is we're trying to figure it out every day.
Right, and you learn something new every day.
Absolutely.
So yeah, when they told me that story, I was blown away. First of all, and Armando's like, I was like squeezing my equipment and I was slamming shit down. He goes, he's like, I don't even remember it. He goes, I was watching it in the video and I was like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been, once when you reached out and to me, and I was just like, yeah, this is the guy that was with him. I was like, so I got excited because I really wanted to get your perspective on that situation. So
oh yeah, and we've been back to the jail since then, and it was a totally different experience. I'm very much a believer in the power of intention, and I'm a believer in the energy that you put out is the energy that you get back. And we were with some other folks that we had pretty much just met that day. We were there for a convention, and we were with them. We had just met with them that day, and they're good group of people, but just their mindset's a little different than what we do. And the stuff that they were talking about and putting out there was like kind of more on the negative side. And we've been back again, like, and with a whole different attitude. And it's like, we talked about it before. It's like, when we go in there, we're going to be in there positive. We're going to, be high spirited. And we had a completely different experience. So it's just wild how just something like that, like, your energy, your positive attitude could really change the atmosphere in a place.
For sure. So on that note, thank you for shedding some light from a different perspective on that situation. But so the question that I ask everybody that's an investigator, what was it that got you interested in following the path of actually doing investigations?
Honestly, fear. Fear and curiosity. I'm just like, I'm sure many investigators, I've been having experiences since I was a little kid. And it's funny because your tattoo is the first thing that stood up because my first story has to do with Batman.
Oh, nice.
And so I was somewhere between the age of 6 and 8 years old, and I'm in my room. I'm laying down in bed, trying to go to sleep, and I hear a noise. So I open my eyes and I start to look around, and don't see anything. And I lay my head back down. In the corner of my room, I had a like movie theater Michael Keaton Batman like cut out, like those big cardboard ones.
Yeah.
So I have Batman standing in the corner of my room. And I guess as soon as I lay my head down on the pillow again, the Batman shoots from out of the corner and lands on top of me.
Whoa.
And I freaked out. It was, for being a little kid, it was a pretty damn big room. It was, I'd say, between 6 and 8 feet away from me. And it was not like it just tipped over and fell. This thing, I had bunk beds. This thing literally like came down and then shot forward and landed into me. Like it hit the wall.
Wow.
That was against the bunk bed. And I freaked out, start yelling, crying. My parents come into the room and they're like, "What's going on?" And I'm fighting this cardboard cutout of Batman. And I'm like, no, get off. And they're like, "What happened?" And I was like this. And they're like, "Oh, you're making like stop. Like what are you talking about? Like that you're having a bad dream. Maybe you were, I don't know what the hell they thought. This freaking cardboard thing was on top of me." But somehow I was making this whole thing up. Right. And but after that, I refused. I was like, I'm not sleeping in this room ever again. Like I'm done. I'm not gonna do this. So my brothers, I have 2 younger brothers that are twins. They had the room right next to mine, and they also had bunk beds. So they ended up having to sleep together on the first bunk, and then I slept up on the top bunk. And this went on for a couple of years because as long as we were in that house. But the first night, which I guess was the next night, sleeping in that room, because I think I slept with my parents that and the rest of that night I was shitting my pants the entire time. So like the foot of the bed has the bedroom door and it leads out to a hallway, and to the immediate right is my old room. To the immediate left was the bathroom, and if you keep going was like the Florida room and the dining room. So I climb up the bed, I go and I start getting under the covers, and the last thing I do is I look out the door, and I look down and I see somebody sitting at the head of the table. The chair was like a 3/4 turn, like, and they're just staring, like just looking straight down at me and my brothers. And I just remember just whoosh, covers over the head. I'm still freaked out. I'm seeing stuff. This went on every night for about 6 months.
Wow.
So you would think, after 6 months, I got kind of like used to the routine. Like, I'm here, he's over there, he ain't messing with me. But one night I'm getting into bed, I'm doing my routine, I climb in, I look back, and the dude stands up. And he starts walking down the hall towards the room. And my ass jumped off that second level bunk bed. And I ran in, like our parents had rooms that connected. Like the house was really weird layout. It was like a square within a square. So every room connected to each other in the whole entire house.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's weird.
So I went into my parents' room. I go to my mom and I start shaking her. And I'm like, "Mom, there's a man. There's coming." She's like, "You're just having a bad dream. Just come on. You could come into bed. Just close your eyes. You're having a bad dream." I was like, "All right." So I remember climbing up over my mom, getting in between her and my dad. My dad was out. And I go to get under the covers, and I look back at the foot of the bed. But this time, there are now 4 people standing at the foot of the bed, and I'm just going, Mom, Mom. And she's like, just close your eyes. You're having a bad dream. This is all a dream. Everything's good. So I don't remember at this point, like I really don't remember. We've been out of the house over 20 years now. But when I was about 15, 16, I remember having a conversation with my mom. We were talking about the old house, and I was like, do you remember this? And she's like, yeah, I remember something about that. And like that house was weird. Like she's the one that started off like that. This house had some stuff going on. I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, yeah, I remember going when your brothers were really little. I was putting them to bed. They used to have cribs facing each other. And she says that she came in one night because one of them was crying. She gets to the room and one of my brothers is just freaking out crying. The other one's just laughing, sitting up in his crib. And when she looks out the window, there's like 2 red eyes like looking in the window.
No way.
Yeah. So I didn't know this. Like I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, the house had like a lot of like weird stuff. And I was like, yeah, no shit. And I was like, do you remember the Batman thing? And she's like, yeah, I kind of remember that. And I was like, yeah, you guys didn't believe me. And you know, now I'm finding out that all this stuff was going on. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I was like, well, I also have this memory and you know of a dream that I had one night. And she's like, yeah. So I start telling her the story and this and that. And as I'm telling her the story, she just has this like grin, like just little shit-eating grin like coming across her face. And I'm like, what? Like, what's so funny? She's like, that wasn't a dream. That was your father's 2 uncles and my aunt and uncle. Because it was 3 men. It was 2 men, a lady, and then another man at the end. She saw them too.
And those were the 4 people at the foot
Those
of
were
the
the
bed?
four people at the foot of the bed. She's like,
way.
yeah. She's like, they were just coming to visit, making sure that everything's okay. But you know, that's not the only house. I mean, I tell everybody I've lived a very haunted life. Every house that I've lived in has been haunted, has had stuff going on. And you know, my parents divorced when I was young. Like both of my parents, yeah, they both have married multiple times. So you know, many houses, you know, two Christmases, 2 birthdays, all that fun stuff. But in every house, we've always had a little something extra going on. And
That's a lot.
yeah, dude, it's yeah, it's literally, it's been a lifetime of it. And you know, I lived, yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I guess it's a good thing that you didn't know about the red eyes at that time, because you already have these 4 people standing at the foot of the bed, and then you had Batman jumping on you.
Yeah.
And just to know about the red eyes, it probably would have made you more of in a state of fear at that time, especially at 8 years old.
Yeah, no, man. I mean, that house, like, you know, those are like the stories, like the memories that stand out from it. But I mean, there was just weird stuff throughout the house, like, you know, the cabinets opening, doors opening and closing, you know, loud bangs, you know, hearing talking. Nobody, you know, the quintessential, you know, haunted house. You know, you see it in the movie, like I lived that, you know, and and it's insane, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, again, it was a lot of fear and growing up, and now it's like, now I get bummed out if I don't catch an EVP like on something, you know. Yeah, it's like the complete opposite.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Like, so I've experienced, if you watch or if you listen to this podcast, you find out that I've experienced quite a bit when I was younger. I give a little bit each episode, a little different, just because, you know, I'm not here for me. It's for the guest, and it just you're not crazy, you're not alone kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like this house that I moved into 2 years ago now, I see a shadow person almost not every night. It's occasionally in my not my living room, in my hallway upstairs, right where, so all three of, so my bedroom and both my kids' bedrooms are upstairs, and that's the only thing that's upstairs are the bedrooms, and it'll just be outside my bedroom door in the hallway, just standing there. So, and it's not the only time that I've experienced shadow people. I mean, I've seen them periodically. And so I was on, me and my sister were on another podcast sharing our experiences. And my daughter happened to be walking into the room, and she was hearing me talk about shadow people in my hallway upstairs. And then a couple days later, she's like, I see shadow people in the hallway. And I was like, are you saying that because you actually see them, or are you just trying to like relate to me because you heard me talking about it? She's like, no, I see them. I'm like, okay. So, and then last night I was speaking with a woman who, about like the pendulums, if when you connect to spirit, it'll like move or whatever.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
she asked it if the shadow person was negative, and it said yes. So, and then she asked it if I should get rid of it, and it said yes. So
So it's time for a smudging
it
in the
is.
house
It
as
is
well. Yeah.
because I mean it doesn't do anything, but I like with anything, you give it energy and you give it time to build up,
Right.
it gets worse.
Absolutely.
So, so after this first house that you were in, where did you go from there?
This house. So after we left this house, we moved in with my dad. We moved into my grandmother's house for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was, single mom, and my dad's single dad, single guy, but my dad always was a little bit better with his career than my mom. My mom, had it tough. So as kind of like a let me help you out type of thing, it kind of became a the boys are going to go with me, and you take care of what you got to take care of, and we obviously still saw my mom and visit with her, but as far as living, we were living with my grandparents for a little bit, and that house never. This is another house that I grew up in,
Right.
but there was something about like the area by our bedroom, and it's weird because so like my we're Cuban, and my grandparents were very religious, and there was the hallway. If you walked into the house, to the left was two bedrooms, which was my aunt's room, our room that we shared, and then a bathroom. But between the doors of my room and the bathroom, there was a picture of Jesus Christ hanging on the wall. And it's like, okay, yeah, Jesus, I went to Catholic school. It's like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that area, that picture, there's something about that space that was not right. That to the point like I couldn't even like look up and look at the painting, at the picture of like Jesus, because it freaked me out so much. Like if I don't know if it was just like that mind thing that the eyes are following you and you're a little kid type of thing, but it just didn't feel good in that area. And that was day or night. It wasn't like just a nighttime thing. Yeah. And talking with my aunt like years later, I mean, when my grandparents moved out of the house like 15 years ago, my aunt would say the same thing. Like she grew up in that house, and she's like, there was always something about that area there by the bathroom. She's like, I don't know if something happened to somebody before we moved in there, but that whole space, and it was always just like a heavy, like menacing energy in that place. Like even the bathroom, you didn't want to be taking a shower for too long because you felt like there were eyes on you.
Yeah.
In this place. After that, we moved into another house, and with my dad and it was his ex girlfriend at the time, and her kids, and so this was a 2-story house, and this place I would see shadow figures all the time downstairs, just poking out, looking, around corners, things like that. Never saw anything like face to face. But I remember like one day I was home alone, and I was, we weren't like, overly sheltered kids, but we never spent time alone. Like if we were going to be sick, we would be going to grandma's house, and she was going to watch us because we were not going to be left alone. But one day I was working on like a school project, and my dad's like, I'll let you stay home so you could work on it. And I'm sitting and I'm doing my thing. The computer was in his room, and start hearing walking in the room behind me. And I turned around. I thought maybe he had come home to look, and there was nobody there, or my stepmom at the time. And I remember going into the bathroom and checking because I was hearing the walking back there, and nothing. So I come back and I sit back at the computer desk, and out of nowhere, the stereo in my room, my stepbrother's room, and my stepsister's room all turn on at the exact same time at like full blast. Like we had like those old boombox, like JVC, like those big monster boomboxes. We each had one, and those things were at full blast. Like I remember, I freaking jumped. I ran out of the house, and I stood in front of the house for a good like 15 minutes before going in there. I go back into open the door, and as soon as the door, the knob turned, music all stopped. Everything just went.
Wow.
Done.
What was the thought process while you were standing out there? How would you say to yourself to make yourself go back in?
I need to, as far as I can remember, it was I need to go back inside. Like I need to finish my project before Dad gets home, because I
Dad was
at that
more
time,
scary.
yeah, Dad was more scary to me than any ghost at that time.
Yeah.
So it was like, let me go back inside, and it was crazy because I could hear. I'm walking up to the door, and I'm still hearing this music, and it's loud. Like these old stereos were freaking crazy, and I'm walking up to the door, and as soon as my hand turned that knob, silence. Every one of them gone.
That is freaky.
Yeah, I did. After that, I did not like staying in that house alone. I would be like, yeah, I'll take me to the library. I'll finish my project on the library. I'll put it on a floppy disk. Back in the day.
Back when there was
floppy disks. Back when there was the 3.5 floppy disks. Yeah, I'm dating myself a little bit.
Yeah, it feels like forever ago now.
Yeah, when Encarta Encyclopedia and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So how long were you guys in that house?
We were there not long. I think we were there for maybe like 2 years max. Yeah, about 2 years. I was I think by that point I was like a freshman in high school. I mean, the first house where all that stuff happened, I mean, we lived there for years, even after all that went down. Like, for a good 5-6 years, I slept in a room with my brothers, sharing a bunk bed, them two down on the bottom bunk and me up top. After that, my dad got what was like his dream house. We have down in where I grew up in Miami. There's a little neighborhood. It's called PSN, Palm Springs North. And that was like his dream, to have a house in Palm Springs North, because on the lake, because there's 3 lakes, and it was like motorized. So you could have like motorboats and jet skis and all that.
Yep.
So we get this house, and we move into the house. And again, I'm sharing a room with my brothers, because we had my stepbrothers at the time, and my stepsister, she had her own room. And our room was the original master bedroom of the house. So they had done an addition with the new one, but ours, it was three of us, so they gave us pretty much the next biggest room, and it had its own bathroom. So we had the bunk beds, and then like under the bunk bed was like a trundle that you pulled out, so a whole like third bed like slid out from under. And it's our first night in the house. Going again to bed, and click off the light, and I look towards like the bedroom door, and the door was closed. At this time, we would sleep with the door closed, and I see this little girl just standing there. Little girl,
Solid.
blonde. She was solid. Like,
wow.
She was standing there. I have like goosebumps just thinking about this one. This is the one that like creeps me out. There's something about kids.
Yeah, same.
So she's standing there. She had like a pink dress on, but it wasn't like a poofy dress. It was just, I don't know, like just a straight down, like almost like a nightgown type of thing, type of deal. But she had pigtails. I'll never forget. She had little pigtails, brown hair. And I remember I like just see her standing there, and then I just remember I was like, no. And I closed my eyes, and I opened up my eyes, and she's still there. And I was like, great, here we go again. Roll over, and I go to sleep. At this point, it's just like, fuck it. It is what it is. Like, these things are around. They're around me. They're around all of our shit. Like, there's no escaping. So the next morning, I remember I go up, and my dad's like, how was the first night? And I was like, oh, it was good. He's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I saw something a little weird last night, but I don't know. Next night, go back to bed. I see her again. Rolled over, went back to bed. The next night, I go, I don't see anything. After that, I never saw her. Actually, I'm sorry. Saw her like once again, maybe about a year later. But I hadn't seen her, so I was like, okay, maybe she's gone. So didn't think anything about it. Couple months in, the door, you come out of the room, and then if you made a right, it would open up to the floor room and like the kitchen area. And we had like a bar, like it was like a big bar area before the kitchen. And I turn the corner, I look up, and there's just this black figure. This is the day, like this was 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and I see this figure, dark figure, no features, just and bolt into the kitchen. And I go into the kitchen, and there's nothing there. So my dad comes home, and I was like, hey, we got to have a talk. I was like, I don't care if you believe me or not. This is what's going on. I've told you about all the other stuff, but this I've never seen. He's like, Joe, you're making shit up. Like you're thinking, like you're overthinking stuff. We haven't been here very long. You're getting used to it. There's nothing going on. There's nothing in this house. And that's one thing with my dad is my dad will never admit to all the paranormal. He knows everything that I do. He knows all the stuff. He's seen my stuff, and he's the biggest chicken shit when it comes to all that. So, after a while, I was like, yo, it's like, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. No, there's nothing. So a couple months later, we're talking, we're in the car. It's like me, him, and my brothers, and we're talking, and he's like, hey, we get home, and he gives my brothers the keys. He said, you guys go in. He's like, I want you, he goes, you stay in the car with me. We got to talk. And I was like, shit, I'm in trouble. I was like, what did I fuck up now? And he's like, just wanted to let you know that I called a friend of mine who's a pastor, and he came and he cleaned out the house, blessed the house. I was like, what? And he goes, yeah. He goes, you're not going to be worried. You're not going to be seeing that man in my room anymore. I go, in your room? He goes, yeah, in my room. And I was like, what do he look like? And he starts describing this man, like tall dude, medium build. I want to say he was wearing like old school basketball shorts. They're kind of like running shorts now.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so I'm not going to see the man in the room anymore. He goes, no, you're not going to see the man. I go, okay, cool. I was like, what about the guy behind the bar? And he's like, what? I go, yeah, the big shadow, black shadow that I told you about. Well, I go, how about the little girl in my room? What little girl? I was like, dude, I told you about this little girl from like day one. And he was like, oh shit. He ended up calling his buddy back, and like he was, my dad did not want to take any chances after that. But
So did you see this guy that he was describing?
This person that he was describing? No. And I believe it was a totally different person than the black shadow figure that we were seeing.
Most likely.
Yeah.
So he's seeing this guy, and he's like, just so you know, you're not going to see this guy. And you're like, excuse me, sir, but I never saw this gentleman.
Yeah. This one I never saw. That's news to me. That's great that I'm not going to see this guy. What about the other two?
Yeah, right. So
what was wild too is like that bathroom, like again, we had the old master bedroom, so we had our own bathroom in there in the shower, and I was actually talking to my brothers about it this weekend. You would go and you would take a shower. As soon as the shower would start, you would hear a full-on conversation between a man and a woman, and then to the point like it would sound like they were like yelling at each other, and then you would turn the water off and it would stop. And then like it became kind of like a game, and I thought it was just me, but my brothers and this past weekend are telling me, yeah, I used to play like a game. I would like turn it on, they would start talking, and then turn it off, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like I used to do the same exact thing.
That's hilarious.
Like we lived this is another house that we lived in for years. And I graduated high school. By this time, all the paranormal shows had come out, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventure, all that stuff. We were all like into it. So we had gone, my brothers and I, it's like, we've been experiencing this stuff. Like, let's go look for it. So that's when we first started like investigating. It was us three, and then a friend of mine, my best friend Javi's ex-girlfriend. And we would go to locations down here, the Deering Estate in Miami, which is just a beautiful home down in it's in Cutler Bay, and we would go investigate there, and we had our own little team, and got some like little recorders and this and that, and then we decided that it was the great idea of, we've always had stuff in our houses, let's investigate our house. And so we had gone up to my mom's house, and we're like, yeah, mom's house is always haunted. Mom's always got some shit going on. So it was like Thanksgiving, and like the plan was like, while they're doing like all the Thanksgiving stuff downstairs, we'll hit upstairs, and we'll investigate upstairs, and then when everybody goes to bed, we'll do downstairs. And like in my mom's room, we ended up getting like some EVP. It sounded like an old man, and it was like, do you know that you're dead? And the EVP's like, sure. A woman in my grandmother's room. My grandmother, my mom and my grandmother, they both collected a bunch of antiques. Yeah. So, I'm sure that there was shitload of attachment. Yeah.
Yeah. Stored energy or whatever.
But like back at, so we did that in my mom's house, and, obviously we didn't know at the time, you don't investigate your own house because you're just stirring up more shit.
Yeah.
But I leave and I go away to college, and I come back, and I move back into my dad's house. And at this point I had a dog, and my brother Mike's like, oh, can I sleep with Kush? The dog's name was Kush. because I was
a
a
good
burnout
name.
in college. Yeah.
It's a good name.
Yeah. So he's like, "Can I sleep with Kush tonight?" I was like, "Yeah, man, go for it." So I had our old room that we all used to share. That became my room once my dad got divorced and all the other everyone else left. So we each had our own room at that point. I stayed with the big room, and when I was by myself before I left, nothing really ever after that. Until I get back, Mikey's sleeping with the dog this one night, and I'm watching TV, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to bed now. So there was no like the switch on the wall was it was one of those like if you hit it, it turned off the fan and the light. So I would have to manually click it. So I'm getting into bed, and I click the light. I go and I lay down, and like in the corner of my room, I had my guitar, like an acoustic guitar, and within like 30 seconds of me closing my eyes, I hear each string ding, 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 just each one. And I just remember like just opening my eyes, like, and freezing and just looking. It's like, okay, my next move is to hit the light. And it's like, I must have made like the fastest freaking movement to like hop up and click that light. And I just sat at the edge of my bed, just staring at my guitar. And after about 10 minutes, I was like, fuck my brother, I'm sleeping with my dog tonight. Like, like fuck you, bro.
I would have done the same shit.
Dude, I went in, I told him, he's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I told him, and he's like, no, bro, don't tell me that. I go, yeah, the dog's coming back with me. No, man, no. I was like, yo, like, no, not happening. Give me the dog.
So did your brothers ever see anything throughout? Did you guys ever talk about it with your brothers?
So we were actually, I went up to visit my dad this weekend, and my brothers moved down. My brother Chris lives about an hour south of me in Broward County, and then my brother Michael lives in Tampa, out west, north central, like central Florida, but west. And we went down this weekend to visit at my dad's house, and I was gonna go out, but my dad's maybe about an hour and a half away, and I was like, oh, I'll stay one night. And they're like, oh, just stay the weekend. You can hang out with the kids and all that, with my nephews. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, if you go ghost hunting with me on Saturday night, I'll stay that night too. And they were like, all right, like, screw it. Like, it's been a long time. It's been years. Like, let's do it. So we all went ghost hunting, them too, and my sisters as well. I have 2 younger stepsisters. Okay. So it was like the first like siblings outing, and it's like the middle of this cemetery out in the middle of nowhere.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it was awesome. We had a blast. Good. We caught some really cool stuff too. So
what'd you catch?
We're doing an EVP session. This cemetery, like several cemeteries in that area, has a mass grave for from the 1928 hurricane. These were back when there were unnamed storms, and Lake Okeechobee, which is like the big lake. If you look at the map of Florida, that giant one, the levees broke, and it flooded about 10 miles in every direction, and killed thousands of people. So a lot of these cemeteries, they would do these mass graves, especially for the people that they couldn't identify. Yep. Some that they could. And so this location has one of those mass graves. So we're over in that section, and there were the amount of mosquitoes that last Saturday was insane. I mean, and these mosquitoes are not like typical mosquitoes. These things are like, I call them dragons. They're fucking monstrous. So we're, my brothers are like, hey, we're gonna go back to the truck real quick to go grab some bug spray. I was like, no problem. I'll stay with the girls, and I'm gonna set up the equipment so we can get this session going. So I start setting everything up, and I'm talking with my sisters, And my sister's like, are you seeing that? I was like, what? She's like, it's way over there. It's on the other side, but I could see, and it looks like there's some like movement, like somebody's like just pacing up and down.
Oh wow.
I was like, no, I'm not seeing that. So 2-3 minutes later, my brother Chris comes down, my brothers Chris and Mike, they come back from the truck, and they were easily 150 yards away from us, and they come back, and Chris, he goes, hey, so I think I saw something. It's like, what'd you see? He's like, no, I was like in front of my truck, and I look over and I see what looked like a man like pacing, and his arms were like, like if it looked like if he was marching. I was like, where was that? He points in the same direction. I was like, I was like, Kami just saw something in that same area.
Mm-hmm.
So we finished what we were doing there, and it's like, before we go, let's go see what's up over in that area. And they're like right over there. There was this grave, and it had 2 lanterns hanging, and we walk over, and we see that the grave belonged to a gentleman who was a Seminole Indian, and he was also a U.S. Marine.
Oh wow.
So it's kind of funny that they would see
Him marching.
Motion.
Yeah.
It looked like he was marching. So it's like, okay, well, let's set up here. Let's see if maybe if he is still around, if he wants to talk to us. So we start asking questions, and my brother Chris asks, Marine, what was your rank? And immediately on the recorder, we get E9. And it's like, E9? The hell's E9? So my sister starts Googling it, and E9 in the Marine Corps is a sergeant major.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, okay.
It starts from E1, right?
Right. E1.
So E1's a private or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
And then E9 is like I guess like the top level as far as that goes.
Yeah.
From what I could tell, I'm not well versed in all the ranks and stuff, but from what I was able to look up, so he was a sergeant major, and so we continue the session, and I'm like, what war did you fight in? We get Vietnam. Da Nang. Then the next question my sister had asked, you traveled all over the world. What was your favorite place? And like one of the clearest EVPs I've ever heard, we hear Japan was like the clearest thing. So we end up Googling the guy's name, USMC, and there's an article from the Seminole newspaper. That's how we found out he was Seminole, with his photo, talking about his whole history, how he earned when he went into to fight. He fought in Vietnam. Before he went to Vietnam for training, he went to Japan and spent time in Japan. And he was an E9 MOS. So I think it was like a communications he was like doing like communications. So
Sergeant Major. Like a wind talker kind of thing.
Yeah.
Think? Yeah.
Right.
Well,
right.
I just got like a bunch of goosebumps.
Yeah. I have it's awesome because I have like even just that interaction of us, of like both of them seeing something. I have everything on tape, even though like on recording on film, even though like we're not like doing anything, we're just talking, and it's just like, yeah, I just saw something there, and then he comes back and he's like, hey, I just saw this, and then that whole interaction, and then we get there and we get confirmation. I mean, that's the stuff like I really love, man. Like, you
Yeah.
know, like everybody, all of us there, like we were all just like tearing up, and it was like, you know, I'll eventually put out the video because I'm terrible at this. Um, but like we start the session before I ask anything, I was like, you know, before we ask anything of you, just want to say thank you for your service, thank you for whatever you did. Like at this point, we knew nothing of this person. I was like, you know, I don't know, you know, if where you served, I don't know what war. Either way, just thank you because just signing up, you know, takes guts.
Mm.
And I guess, you know, maybe the way that we all kind of looked at it was like, you know what, like it was that respect was given up front, so he decided to actually like sit down and talk to us. And I wish we would have had some more time there, but it's a place that our team frequents, so I will be going back to spend some time uh, with the sergeant major next time I go back out there. It was really awesome.
Nice. That's an amazing story, man.
Yeah.
And like you just went out with your siblings just
Yeah.
to fuck around, and you guys actually got something, and
Yeah.
that's awesome, dude. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I'll send you the link with the article. Like it's freaking wild, man. Like
Oh,
it's
I would love it. I would appreciate that. That's pretty cool, man.
yeah.
So my uncle, so we are Penobscot Indian from
Mhm.
our reservations up here in Maine. And my uncle Sam was a communications um in the Korean War. So I mean I don't ever hear, I don't even know why. I haven't really looked into the Korean War, but I don't even remember why we were over there. I know Vietnam was, you know, a big thing, but uh you know, I haven't seen any history on the Korean War at all, especially through high school. You know, they talked about
Yeah.
World War II and they would talk about Vietnam, but
Right.
then that's it.
Yeah. I it's I've I've heard it referred to as like the forgotten war.
The
You
Korean
know.
War.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
it's not even like talked about so often, and it's like, you know, like obviously, you know, like besides, you know, the ghost hunting and like and all that is cool, but it's like, you know, this is history. Like this is our history. Like, you know, we got to take all of it as it was, you know, and learn from it, and give, you know, reverence to the people who fought and died for, you know, whatever the conflict was. It, you know, I don't know myself the reason why the Korean War happened, but I do know that it happened, and you know, much respect to everybody who fought and died for this country. You know, like it takes balls.
It
you
does.
know, you
It
know.
does.
Like I said, just signing up takes massive balls, and so I give a lot of credit to our soldiers, and you know, thank you to whoever's listening.
Same. I one of my first guests was a veteran. Um and he I can't I don't know if he went to war or whatever, but regardless, it's still, because the possibility of going to
Yeah,
war is
absolutely.
always there. Um, so yeah, I thanked him too before we signed off, but he was an interesting guy. He's also down in Florida somewhere.
Oh, right on.
I can't remember. I'm brain farting on his location, but his name's Keith Evans.
Okay.
He does paranormal short sessions on YouTube. He's a lovely person. He's in his 60s, I think.
Yeah,
He
I think he's in I want to say North Florida, Pensacola. I follow Keith on Instagram, and I've seen some of his videos and on YouTube and stuff. He's always with his millimeter and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think, and a spirit box, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, or
Yeah.
Ovilus. Yeah,
Yes, the
yeah,
Ovilus. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the he's an interesting guy. I like hearing him talk. He first came on, I was like, you know what? I was like, I really like your videos. I was like, I could listen to you talk all day. He's like, well, I had a teacher that told me that I fucking fuck up the English language. And I mean, he's not wrong. Like he mispronounced words and stuff like that, but he's still like his voice is has like interesting characteristics that I like attach myself to. So,
That's awesome.
but yeah, he's a good guy. This whole like this podcast and stuff. So like Gina was the first person I reached out to, and then Keith was the second. And like both of them, I was so nervous because they were the first people that I didn't know that I was talking to. And since so, this is gonna be episode. Holy fuck! I have a couple stored in the bank right now. Let's see. 27 just came out. 28's coming out. So 29, 30, 31. This will be
All right.
31. So you're the 31st episode, and I feel so much more comfortable now, and it's pretty cool. And everybody that I meet has been so friendly, and Jen and Armando had really high regards for you. So
and I do for them also. You know, we've definitely we've gotten close, especially like Jen and I. I mean, Armando. I mean, Armando's my brother. Like, I love the shit out of Armando. I love the shit out of Jen. But Jen and I do a lot of practice as far as the mediumship. You know, tarot. We were actually doing a tarot session. Was it last night or the night before? About this soldier. You know, we wanted to practice, and we jumped on video, and each were pulling cards and like trying to build this like story, you know, and then trying to see, especially like, you know, we found some stuff about him right now that was to say we can't find some of this other stuff and really like pin it down.
right.
But yeah, like I've, you know, I don't think there's one person as far on our team period that, you know, that I can't just say, hey, let's go, you know, and it's just us, you know, and hit it. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's really cool, man. You know, again, like I would do this with my brothers for a while, and then on my own, for, you know, for years, it was pretty much like we'd go on vacation, and it's like, you know, I'm gonna go to this place because it's old as shit, so there's probably haunted, and I'm gonna sneak away and I'm gonna do a couple recordings, you know. And now it's, you know, going to some of these places, and like, you know, our team has gone to some of these places that, like, you know, you see on TV, and you're like, man, I would love to go there. And it's like, yo, like, we're doing that, and we're going to places that we got more activity than that place on TV gets. You know, like it's amazing, like the journey, and it's the best thing about it is like the way I look at it is I'm just getting started on this, you know.
Yeah.
Like you know, we got a long way to go, and a lot of more adventures, and man, like I'm just excited for all of it, you know.
I'm excited to watch. Jen makes pretty good videos, and I've think I've caught a couple of somebody else. I can't remember their name, but you're in them.
Yeah.
Probably somebody from War Party. So
it's always a joke because we have the radio show. We have the War Party Paranormal radio show.
That's right. That's right.
And you know, at the end of the show, everybody plugs themselves, and it's like, you know, where can they find you and this and that. And like the joke that I always say is like, you can find me on their Instagram and their videos. You can find them on their stuff, and you can find me because, you know, it's the time to put out something. Like, you know, I've done a couple like long form videos, and they came out great, but man, they took me 2.5 months to do, you know, for like a, you know, 30-minute video, and it's like, yeah, that's a lot of work, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
kudos. Like, I give a lot of props. Like Mike and Eric on our team, Eric Vangelan, he's our one of our team leaders, and Mike Del Coro, a good buddy of mine. They have a series on Paraflix right now called The Haunted Files.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, man. And they're, you know, they're going to some really cool locations, and Mike has turned into a great editor, you know, and filmmaker, I would say. and the stuff that they're putting out it's great stuff. And again, it's like they're we're just learning, we're just getting started on all this stuff. So it's like there's so much more to come, especially if in the content section. Like for me, it's the content stuff's cool, but I have shifted, and for me lately, it's just been so much more about the experience that, like, I was talking to somebody. I was like, I could shut down my social media right now, and I really don't give a shit. Like, like I'm in all your guys' stuff, so people will see me. Like, I'm just enjoying doing it and exploring now, like the mediumistic side, knowing that, I got that going on as well, and it's just interesting, man. I don't know. It's I going to some of these locations, like I said, and just the feeling, just arriving and taking it all in, man. It's I couldn't ask for anything else, anything better than that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Good for you, man. I'm happy for you. That makes me really happy to hear. So since you mentioned it, I'm gonna ask you, when did you realize that you had medium capabilities?
So we had been doing pretty much what you see a lot of people doing, was like the Estes method, and started doing it a lot, and noticed like when I was doing it, I was getting like a lot of visuals while I'm doing it, and describing stuff, and getting seeing stuff, and like feeling things, feeling emotions, feeling this and that. Like I remember we did we were at History Fort Lauderdale, the New River Inn down in Fort Lauderdale, and we did a 3-person Estes session. It was myself, Jenny, and I want to say Eric. Each of us were we each had our own thing, and these guys, Mike and Armando, are the ones filming and asking questions. And we finished the session, and I remember like taking off the eye mask, and I just couldn't control it. Like I just started freaking crying, and they're like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I was like, "I have no fucking idea. I don't know. Like I just got hit with like just this wave of it." And they're like, "I think you need to go outside." I was like, "Well, we're picking up. Like we're leaving. Let's just get our shit and go." And we had done another time that I had 2 mediums that were like, "You got a lot going on." And I was just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, sure. Because I thought it was bullshit. When it comes to that, I trust few people with it, and it's the few people because I've worked with them, and I know what they can do, and even like to get going on that has taken me trust. So we had gone, I forgot what investigation we had done, and I come home, and I'm laying in bed, and I just hear, "Hello?" And I just opened my eyes, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And I hear, "Hey, Joe." And I go, "No, shit." I was like, I brought something home with me, and it's like, fuck, what's my wife's gonna say? And she's dead asleep. And I just, it was weird because it was like, again, like I would just lay my head on the pillow. As soon as my head would lay my head on the pillow, it would just start just chatting.
Wow.
And I started talking to Scotty, who's one of our team's co-founders, and she's like, I'm telling her what's going on, and before I even say anything, she's calling our team psychic, Angie. She's like, "Hey, I need you to start working with Joe. His gift just emerged." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah."
Wow.
I was like, okay. So she was basically what, like, working with Angie was basically just kind of shutting me down because I was like wide open apparently. And I had somebody describe it to me like if I was a lighthouse just shooting out for miles and miles in every direction, and they're seeing that light and they're going, that person can talk to us, that guy could come. So I was having, people coming and visiting, and it'd be like, oh man, hey Joe, little girl, hey, and I'm just like, okay, like I need to like learn how to close this off. And Angie had me create kind of like a light switch. She's like, create it in your head. She's like, you could even do it with a physical light switch in your house if you want. And like say, it's like, once I switch this off, I'm off, and it's not on again until I turn it on again or open it up. I've seen other mediums say, and this is for anybody who's been experiencing some stuff like this and thinks that this is what it is. Try this out. Create that image in your head of the light switch, and tell them and to yourself, like, once I shut this off, it's off. Once I turn it on, it's on. Or somebody had said, grab a piece of paper and do like a open and close sign, like you see like on store windows, like one side open, one side closed, and like put it down, like, closed, and then the next, when you're ready, you could open it up again. And it's just weird. And I was like, this is dumb, but it fucking worked. Like it helped me enough that I was able to like calm down and like sleep after a bit. Like it wasn't an instant thing. It took some practice. But like what you were saying about the shadow figures, like, I mean, I had one night here in my house that I was, I'm hearing chat, I'm hearing talking, I'm hearing like a man and a woman like talking in my living room. And I get up and my wife's like, where are you going? I was like, no, I'm just gonna grab a glass of water. And I come out and I walk into the living room and I'm just like going, hey, I hear you. You guys need to knock it off. I'm closed for the night. I'm gonna make some time for you tomorrow to talk. I'm gonna give you 30 minutes. And I started like that. I'll give them 30 minutes, and I don't know, like even like telling my wife all this stuff was like, it's kind of like how when people at events come to us like to investigate their house and they're like, you're gonna think I'm crazy, right? But like me telling my wife, it's like, you're gonna think I'm fucking crazy. But so I'm hearing that chatter that one night, and I come out and I tell them, hey, like, knock it off. And they did. And I turn around to go walk back to my room, and I just see standing in front of me, maybe 5-6 feet away, just a shadow figure just standing right there. And I'm like, I don't know who you are, but you need to get out. Like, you're done. Like, you're not supposed to be here. Thing literally just turned towards the front door and walked out the door.
No shit.
Middle of the night. It was like maybe like 2:00 in the morning.
Wow.
I had woken up because I was hearing all this shit. And after that thing walked out, I just remember I was like, fuck, like this shit's fucking crazy. And I was able like to, from then, I mean, that's over a year now. So, basically for a good 6 months after that whole thing, I was just focused on shutting it down. I was like,
so you were learning how to switch the switch for 6 months,
right? Like, okay. Essentially like learning how to turn it back on. Like I had gotten down how to turn it off, but I was like, kind of like, am I turning it back on? Did I turn it back on? Did the switch, I flipped the switch, is it back on? And it wasn't just, it become then like little like subtle things. And then I started reading, I started learning, tarot cards. I would practice with Jenny and a friend of ours, Carly, the Village Tarot Witch. I don't know if you've interviewed with her, but she's really cool. But she's the one that got me.
Is she on Instagram?
She's on Instagram, the Village Terror Witch. I'll send you her link because she has a lot of fakes coming around and making accounts of her. So I'll send you her legit one.
There's a couple ladies that I follow that I get after like a month or so. I'll get a follow from another account of theirs, and I'm like, man, you're fucking with me.
Yeah,
You're not her.
No, I know this person. That's not you. But like we with the radio show, we've had some cool guests, and one of the guests that we had was April Doucette. April Doucette's a psychic medium. She was on an episode of the Holzer Files when that was on, and she does her own, she does her own readings, teaches classes and all that. So Jenny and I decided, hey, let's sign up for her class. And we signed up for her class, and it was like 3 weeks, 1 day a week for 3 weeks. And her style is like, I always say it's like guerrilla teaching, because it's like she throws you right into the shit. It's like, she's like, I'm not going to teach you about the pineal gland because you could look at a book and you could do all this shit. She's like, I'm going to tell you this is what we're doing today, and that's what you're going to do. And it was like kind of like, but how? It's like, just do it. and it's it's fucking weird, but like when she said just do it, it would be we just did it.
Yeah.
And
you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of that movie with why can't I think, The Duke. John Wayne, there we go. John Wayne, and the little boy's like, but I can't swim. He's like, you can't swim, and he just grabs him and throws him into the fucking water. That's as soon as you were saying that scene just like popped in my brain as you were talking about that. So I just thought I'd share that.
It's funny because it was literally like that. Like,
yeah.
And like, she's like, each class, it was 3 classes. And like the first class was like, you're going to sit with a partner. Like it was a Zoom thing like this. And then they have the breakout rooms, and then she would pair you up with somebody, and you're going to read each other. And she sets me up with like her like star pupil. The dude's been taking classes with her for I don't know how long. And the guy's good. Like he's really good. He started his own like business with it. Like he's doing like really well with it. Ryan, I forgot his last name, but so she pairs me up with Ryan. She's like, I have a feeling about this. Like I want you to get paired up. So, it was basically grab a piece of paper, draw a picture, or visualize something in your head. And they're going to the other person's going to try to figure out what it is, mentally. Mm-hmm. So I draw an orange on the paper, like an orange, and it has the little leaf thing and the little like, dots for the texture and all that. And this dude's like, right away he's like, oh, he's like, yeah, it's round, it's kind of squishy. He's like, oh, is this a fruit? It's fruit. Yeah, it's a fruit. What's the smell? Oh, you drew an orange, and like within like 30 seconds, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, fucking really? Like, no fucking way. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I was like, yeah, dude, like you got it. Like, holy shit. And then it's like, he's like, okay, it's like your turn. So he goes and he starts drawing. And then I'm like sitting and I'm taking some time. I was like, hey, like, I'm sorry. He's like, don't. He's like, you have all the time in the world. Just do your thing. So I started saying, and I'm like, okay, so I'm seeing like a box. I was like, I'm seeing a box, but it's not like flat. It's like it's like an elevated box. And then I was like, but okay, now under it, like it's just black. Like it's just black, and this box is sitting on top of it. It's a white box, and I'm like, white box, white box. So I'm like thinking, I'm like, he's like, go on, like keep going, keep going. And then I'm like kind of like stuck for a second, and then I just like start thinking more, and in my head I'm like, all right, so this guy is clearly just sitting in his room and he's looking at something in his room because he didn't draw anything. He's staring at something. I was like, what's he staring at? What's in his room? What's in his room? So I tell him, I was like, oh, I don't know. I have my eyes closed the whole time. I'm like, all right. I was like, dude, I don't know. I was like, now I'm seeing like, I was like, I'm seeing like a dresser, and like there's like a a, a, a mirror on the dresser. I was like, now I'm seeing this big like rectangle, and it's like brown and blue and orange. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, I don't know. I think I'm way off. I was like, now I'm seeing a big green rectangle. And I was like, dude, I was like, I don't know, man. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on. Like, and he was like, at that point, April had popped in. She's like, um, she's like, how's he doing? And she's like, hold on. He's like, so what else? And I keep going. I was like, I don't know. I was like, no, that's it. Like, that's all I'm picking up on right now. He's like, he was like, April. He's like, you know me, I know you. We've been doing this for a long time. I've never had this experience ever in my life. He looks at me. He goes, dude, you were in my room. I go, what do you mean what do you mean I was in your room? He stands up because he was recording on his phone. He stands up and he goes, look at my bed with the green sheets. Turns his phone around. There's the dresser drawer with the mirror on it. All right. And then he goes, look to the left. To the left, he had a tapestry on the wall that was brown, blue, and orange. He's like, dude, you were in my fucking room looking for the shit. I was like, that's fucking crazy. I was like, but what about the white thing that I was looking at? He's like, what I was thinking about is my work truck. I drive a box truck, and the lot where we park it is a black asphalt, like parking lot.
Wow.
So it was just like it was like remote viewing. Basically, I was like remote viewing, like transporting myself into there, like to see like all this stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that was my very first reading like ever.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That must have been like super exciting for you once like he was starting to affirm everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh man,
Wow.
I that was freaking nuts. That was nuts.
Oh my goodness.
So that's that class, and then like the last class, how she did it was like she did it like gallery reading style, right? So like she invited a couple of her friends, you were like, big time paranormal investigators and people who own like haunted locations, and people who've been doing this for 30 years plus. So they know when somebody's reaching for shit and when somebody's not, and like, again, I'm like brand new. I don't know how, like, I'm getting like just bits and pieces, and I'm doing this. And April's like, Joe, it's it's your, like, why don't you go? Like, I want you to go. And I'm like, I was like, I don't know, but I'm feeling like a male. And she's like, okay. She's like, do you know who this is pertaining to? I was like, no, I don't know who this is pertaining to. She's like, do you have a name? I was like, no name. I was like, I'm getting a male energy. I was like, now I'm seeing like, I don't know, like a fireplace. She's like, what? I was like, yeah, I'm seeing this fireplace. Now, okay, the fireplace is gone. It's just literally just like a fire. And she's like, okay, well, what about the fire? I was like, I don't know. I was like, now I'm seeing like a honeycomb. And I was like, no, it's not a honeycomb. It looks like a skin graft. And then she's like, a skin graft. I was like, yeah. I was like, now I'm seeing the fire again. I was like, dude, I'm actually like feeling like heat, like on my back. And they're like, what are you feeling? Where is it going? I was like, no, I'm sorry. It wasn't heat. It was like, I'm feeling pain is what I was feeling. I was like, I'm feeling pain on my, I was like, it's on my right arm and traveling up my right arm, around my shoulder, over my head, just like about halfway over my head, right side only, and then down my back. And then it's just started feeling like hot, like fucking. I was like, I'm on literally like on fire right now, is what I feel like. And she's like, who does this pertain to? And this lady, Pam raises her hand, and she's like, me. And April's like, what's up? And she's like, so, who you're picking up is a friend of ours, friend of our family. She's like, he was my ex-boyfriend when I was a kid, but he maintained as like a friend of the family. Says that her sister, the dude, and like two other people were driving one night, and this like tractor trailer like ran them off the road. Basically, they lost control, hit a tree, the car caught fire. The dude is trying to get them out of the car. Two people died instantly in the crash, and they were able to get her and her sister out, but the guy was able to get out, and he sustained burns on his complete right side, had to have multiple skin grafts.
Oh wow.
But he survived. I was like, okay, but so how did I feel? Like, it's like he just died a couple weeks ago, and he was a very close friend of our family, and that was just him coming to let you know that was him. And that was my second reading. Like, they were like, these people were. April was like, she goes, holy shit, Joe! Like, you just took on like physical attributes,
Nice.
like, off of this, and it was fucking insane. And it's like, I'm telling my wife all this stuff, and she's like, yeah, right. Like, shut the fuck up. Oh, shit. And she's like, all right, well, let's try it right now.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So she pulls out her phone and starts drawing. She was like, what did I draw? I was like, I was seeing these little lines and little triangles, and now I'm seeing a big circle. I was like, what, a clock? And she like looks at me, and she turns her phone. It's a fucking clock.
Oh shit.
Okay. She's like, okay, one more. And then she goes and she starts drawing this thing, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm seeing like leaves, like a leaf. No, like something green. No, red. No, now I'm seeing like a swirl. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, what does it smell like? What does this thing smell like? And I just got a whiff of like roses. And I was like, oh, you drew a rose. And she's like, shut the fuck up.
Nice. That's awesome.
So it's wild. People ask me, like, oh, so you're a psychic medium? I'm like, no. I will not give myself that title until I feel like I've like fully earned that title. I'm still
a good
learning.
mindset, man. That's a good mindset.
Yeah, I'm still practicing. I'll still, I'll do my thing and I'll give my impressions, but it'll be a bit until I could actually say like, okay, yeah, like, I'm a psychic medium, like, how, and like try to like do some stuff for people. I rather have like a backup, somebody that could like corroborate stuff.
Yeah.
With me.
Yeah.
So, which is actually something we got to do on another investigation. It was actually the same weekend that incident happened with Armando. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was a couple of weeks. This was a couple months ago. We went to another house in Central Florida, called the May Stringer House, and it was supposed to be the whole team, but there was like an issue with like the scheduling, so only a few of us ended up going. And since it was only a few of us, we were able to take advantage, especially that was me and Jenny. And we asked them, we're like, listen, before you do the walkthrough, like you do like the whole main like walkthrough, do you mind if we walk through and give our impressions of the thing? And the lady's like, yeah, no problem. Like, I'll just walk with you guys and you guys go and do your thing. So like Jenny goes first. She does the entire house. And then I do it after. I have Armando videotaping both of our sessions. And like we do our thing, and we pick up, and like on the very first like room, I was like, I don't know, I was like, I'm seeing like three people, like I see like they're just shapes, like just dark, but I know that they're people, two that are facing each other, one in the middle. I was like, I'm feeling heat again, I'm feeling like fire again, like if somebody caught fire here. But I'm seeing three people standing over there, specifically in this area right here of the room. And we keep walking, we keep doing the thing, and then we get into like the kitchen area, and then like I'm talking to the guide, like saying something to her, and I was like, I'm sorry, I was like, I don't know if this has anything to do with, or if you would know this information, but like I'm feeling like somebody has an issue with like their eye. I was like, I'm feeling a female, an eye problem. I was like, kind of like if you, I was like, the way I could describe it is if you have like a diffuser, like what you would like on a light, hovering over it, so you could still see through it, but it's kind of like cloudy. And she's like, huh, that's really interesting. So she didn't want to give me any information at that point. I was just doing my thing. We do the walkthrough at the end. I hit on that first room. That's where the original builders of the house. That's where they got married. And then there was actually a child who did catch on fire and die in that room. That information that we didn't find out till after we left. They didn't tell us that then. This information we found out from somebody else who actually did some more research. But what was cool was the tour guide is like, so you were talking about the person with the cloudy eye, and I was like, yeah. She was like, that's me. I was like, what do you mean that's you? She's like, I have this disease, and it basically describes exactly what you're describing. It looks like it's diffused, you can still see, but it's like kind of just fuzzy. It looks a little bit darker than the normal light, but that's me. I've had this for a couple of years now, and now it's starting to come in. So I was picking up on both. I was picking up both mediumistically and psychically. So I was like picking up on her, and then also picking up on all the energy in the house. And stuff. It was really, really, really wild, dude. And like the more we practice and the more we do stuff, like obviously, like
the better you're gonna get at it.
Yeah, it's insane.
So can you do me a favor real quick? I'm gonna hold this thing in my hand without you seeing it.
Okay.
Can you try and see if you can tell me what I have in my hand?
One second.
Yeah, take your time.
So I'm seeing like a triangle shape, like a pyramid shape. Several lines diagonally.
Hold on.
I don't know if
So
it's a pyramid or not, but that definitely like so they rise like that shape, kind of rising, and then like there's a couple lines behind it going through it. Uh, this when we do these exercises, usually it's like over like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So
I understand. So it's not a triangle, but I wonder if it was the way that I was holding it too.
Okay.
So, but and it's not lines. I will show you real quick though. So when you started talking, I did have it kind of like, so this is what it is.
Okay.
And when I was holding it, I was kind of holding it at an angle.
Yeah.
So like all these buttons here kind of create a line.
Yeah. It was like
So
that's what I kept seeing. It was like just.
yeah, and my hand, so when I was holding it in my hand, this part of my thumb was kind of over this bottom corner. So I wonder if you were just seeing it as a triangle just because my hand was over it. But
Yeah. I mean, if you know if you would want to do this like again like just like with time like to tap in because I don't want to
yeah,
take
right.
up time for the show like this but if you want to do like a follow up thing like of us like just doing our
Yeah.
I'd be definitely down to do that. But I mean it is kind of interesting because it was like it looked like four lines like behind it.
Yeah.
And it looked like that shape. I don't know. It was interesting.
Also, the way that I was holding, so I was holding it up against the desk. So behind it, you have the lines of my fingers and you have the lines of the desk.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I guess
I see like me, I'm a hard ass on myself and I would be like, no, it's reaching, like
yeah.
I unless I'm like, fucking like there, like I gotta get better at that too. Like I gotta like when it comes to that shit, I gotta give myself like a break sometimes too.
Yeah, I mean, we're our own worst critics, so
yeah.
Like I honestly, because I mean, you said you're still practicing, you're still working on it. Like it's not always going to be perfect. So, but when the minute you said triangle, I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's not a triangle, but it kind of like if I were to be seeing it like because I don't know like how that actually works. Like it could be a little. I mean, obviously, I feel like it'd probably be fuzzy sometimes a little bit. So you're not gonna.
No, it's definitely not like the way that I see stuff. Like, so like the lines kind of looked. They kind of looked like blurry, like fuzzy, but I could tell like they were like lines, but I could see like little like indentations in them. So it's not like if I'm clearly seeing that each of them is a little circle.
Right.
And then, but I could see like there was like points to it. And I guess, I don't know, again, I don't know. I'm still new as hell on this that I don't know if what that I was doing was a remote viewing.
Yep.
Or if that was, I don't know. Like I swear to God, like I take times like most of the time I'll is me like looking up and like research reading shit like to try to figure out where I land with different stuff. Like I know that I could do remote viewing because I've done remote viewing. But like as far as the other stuff, like I know like I'm now starting to get a feel for that, but I'm trying to see like how I could differentiate the two or if it even matters. Like, like at the end of the day, I don't think it matters at all as long as you're getting what you're getting, getting the message.
Yeah.
But that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. So everybody that is not watching the YouTube, that's just listening to it. I had a rectangle remote that is for my lights behind me, and there are a shit ton of buttons, and they form a line, obviously, up and down, side to side, and they're all different colors. So, in the way that I was holding it, it's kind of where the flap of your thumb and the palm of your hand. I was kind of covering one of the corners. So, for somebody just starting out, I could see how seeing it as a triangle. So that's basically what I was referring to as
and a 30-second impression.
and it was only a couple seconds. So honestly, that I feel like that was fairly good for the little bit of time there. So
every day a little bit better. That's the way I look at it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So yeah, I would love to have you come on and actually do something like that at another time if you're willing to. I mean, actually, I feel
Yeah.
obviously you are. You're the one that suggested it, so I'm gonna take you up on it. Um, so where do you have any plans coming up for another investigation?
This weekend, which would be Saturday, what's the date on this? I don't have my calendar. The 25th. If you are in the Palm Beach County area, War Party Paranormal, we have a public investigation at the Yesteryear Village. Yesteryear Village is it's a living history park. So it's multiple homes and buildings from around Palm Beach County that they've relocated to this one spot.
Yeah.
And then we'll do little mini investigations of like 4 different places throughout the property.
Yep.
One of them is the Riddle House. Riddle House became famous from Ghost Adventures, like one of the early seasons. And that's what we have coming up right now. We also have the Old Davy Schoolhouse in April. We also, Jenny, Armando, and myself were invited by another team, Black Smoke Paranormal. Shout out to Stephen Mella, to go to North Florida to the Hamilton County Jail. So this place, I think it was like mid to late 1800s jail. I'm not too sure when it shut down. I'm trying not to look too much into it because, again, like, we're gonna try to do some impressions when we get there.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And but basically, we have this place Friday through Sunday. We'll be sleeping at the jail. We'll be investigating pretty much for 2 days straight. And it's actually it's my mom's birthday weekend, the 21st. That Friday it's my mom's birthday, so she's coming with us too.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I've brought my mom on a couple investigations, and she loves it like just as much as I do, and obviously she's had her fair share of experiences as well, through the years.
Yeah.
But she's never done anything like this, so I was like, happy birthday.
That's cool. Is she excited?
She's pumped, man. She's pumped. Yeah.
Nice. How far are you guys from North Carolina?
What area?
I think it's below Raleigh, Hamlet.
Raleigh. I'd say maybe 10 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
10-hour drive.
So there's a encounter quest coming up on April 1st. By the time this comes out, by the time I post this, it'll be after April 1st. But if you are interested, it's like a convention. It's Cryptid Ghosts and Aliens.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's the first one ever. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try. Well, I am going. I'm not gonna try. I am going. So, yeah.
What's the date? What's the dates on that?
It's April 1st. So it's next weekend.
Oh shit! All right, yeah, no.
It's a little short notice, but I figured I'd throw it out there just in case.
No, but you know what? We'll definitely, plan something, and we could do something cool. If you want to do like something live, like at a location, we could do live, stuff like that. Or hell, we could do that anywhere, even with you on this.
True.
So,
actually, I am planning on, me and my kids are going to be going down to Miami in October. So I'd like I wouldn't mind meeting you. Jen and Armando want to take me out on an investigation, so
absolutely,
maybe you could join.
Oh, for sure. Hell yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if my kids will be down for it, but I'm gonna be down for it. So,
how old are your kids?
14, and my son's 14 and my daughter will be 12 in 3 weeks.
Okay.
So they definitely keep life fucking interesting. So
I bet.
do you have any kids?
No kids for us, and that's it's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we have a 2-year-old Labradoodle named Maggie that keeps us pretty busy.
Nice.
And I mean, and we travel a lot. That's one thing that you know, I have a lot of friends, and my brothers, have kids. I have my nephews and my friends who have kids, and they travel with their kids, and I see, and it's great. But man, there's nothing like just being able to say, "You want to go here next weekend? All right, cool," and just hit
Let's
it.
do it. Yeah. I feel you on that.
Yeah.
My kids and I just started taking like big week-long vacations just like last year. So I took a week off of work and we did a road trip to Arizona.
Oh, that must have been sick.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty cool because there's a lot of it I've never been through before. So the furthest I've ever been in my life was to North Carolina before, but that wasn't for pleasure. That was a death in the family.
Mm.
So like I wasn't like there to fucking have a good time. But yes, and we drove through Pennsylvania on the way down, Virginia and New York and stuff. But that was the furthest from Maine I've ever been was North Carolina until me and my kids took this trip to Arizona.
So I'm assuming you took like I-95 pretty much most of the way down.
Yes. So we went, well, yes, and I think I
Well,
think I
to North Carolina, I meant like I don't know if you flew or
oh
not.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
So
In North
you
Carolina I did.
did you stop at south of the border?
A restaurant?
No, south of the border is like it's a tourist trap, is what it is.
Oh, okay.
But it's like it's like the border of South Carolina and North Carolina on I-95, but it's like the halfway point of the country, basically on the East Coast.
Okay.
So they have a hotel, they have like restaurants, they have this big like it's Mexican themed. It's pretty funny actually. I've been dying to stop when I've been traveling up that far because and we drove to New York God 2 years ago now from down here, and that was interesting.
That's almost a whole day.
Yeah, that was we ended up stopping in like just outside of Richmond, Virginia, because we were just exhausted, and we pull into this hotel for the night, and like right across the street was the Philip Morris cigarette factory. So there's just like this giant smokestack painted like a fucking cigarette. I was like, okay, it's gonna be an interesting night.
That's funny. That's funny.
Oh man. Yeah.
So, anyway, so I will ask you my last question since we're closing in on 2 hours, which is awesome, and it doesn't even feel like it has been 2 hours because
no, not at all, man.
Listening to your stories. So, the question I like to ask, especially the investigators, are you finding fulfillment in the path that you are walking currently?
Absolutely. Again, it's something like I said earlier. It started off with fear and has transformed through many of my experiences into sometimes a beautiful experience. I just got to share that awesome experience with my brothers and sisters. I don't know. I see it that way. Maybe a lot of people can't see the paranormal that way, and more they're looking for scares and they're looking for whatever. Like now it's something peaceful for me. It's something like that. I don't have to be afraid of what's next. And every time we go, it's something new. people are like, "Oh, don't you get tired of going to the same locations?" And I was like, "No, like every time we go, it's a whole different experience."
Mm.
And I just think it's amazing. Like it's fascinating, you know, and yeah, sometimes it is scary, you know, but I mean that's part of it. Like you not everything is peaches and cream like in regular life. So like, you know, paranormal life is definitely not going to be that way either.
All right. All
So,
right.
I love it, man. I love getting to do this. I love being a part of my team and meeting the people that I have. I mean, people like you. I you know I get to come on shows and talk and share my experiences, and like, you know, I'm just a dude. You know, like it's not like crazy, but like we get to share and stuff, and we get, you know, I get to hear your stuff, your stories. Like you're, you know, you're up in Maine, I'm down in Florida. But we still have had similar experiences. We both have shadow people like coming and, you know, messing with us every once in a while. You know, like, you know, it's for the people who are open to it. Like you find out, like, yo, like we got a lot more similar going on than not. So
Yeah.
I love this, man. I love
For
it.
sure. For sure. I want to share this story too with you since you have the medium capabilities. So I went out to dinner with this girl that I go to the gym with, and we were at the gym, and I was just like, "Hey, what are you doing after this?" She's like, fucking nothing. Probably just gonna go home, smoke some weed, and watch cartoons." And I go, let's go. Was like, I'm hungry. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm fucking sick of going out to eat by myself. Do you want to come? She's like, yeah, let's do it. So we literally left the gym and went to eat, and we're sitting down, and the waitress I don't know, like I was looking at her, and she was just like this ball of light and just warmth and just like nurturing energy, it felt like. And um she had taken our order and she walked away, and I was like, I think she's a mother. And she's like, what? I was like, that our waitress, she has to be a mom. And she's like, what makes you say that? I was like, just her energy to me feels motherly to me. I don't know why. I was like, I just feel like she's a mom, and it's of like an infant, or like not older than a toddler. Like that's what I feel like. And then she came back, she refilled our drinks, so she brought back our drinks. And I go, I have like this weird question to ask you. And she's like, yeah, what's up? And I go, are you a mother? And she goes, I am. And I looked at the girl, and I was like, I fucking told you. And she's like, oh my God. She goes, I'm actually a mother of three under three.
Huh.
And I was like, whoa, dude, that's crazy. So I just figured I'd share that story with you. She's like, that is so weird. And I was like, yeah, I thought it was weird too. I don't know why that was popping in my head. So
Yeah, some people just got that energy about them, and you can feel it. Like, you know,
yeah.
that's one thing too. It's like it's so weird, like feeling energies, especially when you like open yourself up to feeling energies.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, again, I know we're pushing 2 hours. Um, just I have one last story.
Yeah, go
This
ahead.
was my first residential case. I obviously I won't go into it because, you know, we keep that confidential. But one of the investigators that were there was this man. He was on our team. He passed away last year. Tim, his name is Tim Yancey, and Tim Yancey was, you know, he was very well known in the paranormal. He was like the foremost expert on the Amityville horror, like the actual like real haunting. He was friends with George Lutz, and this man was a survivor of a violent haunting, is the way he always put it. Like, you know, we never talk, you know, we never talk demons and this and that. We always say light and dark. So we're doing this investigation, and we got, you know, all this stuff's going on and all this nasty stuff. And I remember our other co-founder Zap. He tells me, he was like, you see him? He was like, I want you to stick by him. I want you to watch him all night. I was like, yeah, okay, like absolutely, like Tim Yancey, that's a freaking legend, And so I'm hanging out, we're doing our thing, and like I'm setting up some cameras, I'm doing this thing, and I just look and I just see Tim, and he's just walking around and looking around, and he'd come up to certain things and go, huh, that's all right, and go and just do his little walk and come around, and then he goes, this is what we got. And he just starts going bump, 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 bump. Like in this room, this going on. This or this and this and that. And this is what we're gonna do to help these people out tonight. And we finished, we did all the stuff. We confirmed a lot of stuff through EVP. We confirmed nothing on video. But our cameras picked up a bunch of voices, especially when we weren't there. So Tim goes and pulls out his kit that he carries, like when he's going to be doing a cleansing, and like Tim was like I forgot if he was our team chaplain, and he was a, I don't remember if he was a deacon or something, but he worked with the church as well. Okay. So this guy, he's pulling out his stuff, and then he's getting himself ready, and I see him, and he's like he closes his eyes, and he starts to pray to get himself going. And I'm not a very religious person. I went to Catholic school my whole life, and I got my issues. I got a lot of us do, but I'm watching this man, and as I'm watching, I'm standing next to him, and I could literally feel, as this man is praying and getting himself going, like the aura coming off of him. Like I could feel this energy, just this positive, warm energy coming off of this dude that I looked over at my team founders, and they were just like, and this guy goes, all right, I'm ready. We did a prayer together, and then we go in, and he did his smudging and comes outside, and he's like, all right, you guys are ready. We walk inside the house because he went by himself. Dude, the house felt like if they just built this place. Like it felt brand new. The energy was gone. Like the energy was insane. Wow. And I'm telling like the team, our founders, I'm like, guys, like I was literally like feeling, they're like, I told you this man's the real deal. Like you follow like this dude. If he's around, that's who you need to stick by. And I got to speak to Tim that night for a while, and I was able to speak to him a few times after that. He was always battling some health issues, so he wouldn't come out as often. But I tell everybody, I was like, I'm very fortunate to have been able to, even the little bit of time that I had with Tim, because that's one of those experiences that I will never feel. And that's why, like, what made me think about that was you seeing that, feeling that aura, that warm energy. Like, dude, this shit's real, dude. Like, I called bullshit myself, and now I'm, practicing to be a psychic medium, and like, and feeling stuff and getting emotional just on, like, shit's nuts. Fucking really nuts.
I never thought that I would actually be able to see like somebody's aura like that. Like I didn't see colors, I just felt warmth. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I just felt like I felt like she was, taking care of us because she was taking care of us. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like a job for her. No. It was like that was in her nature to me. That's what it felt like. So, yeah. And
that's amazing.
I was blown away that I called it. And then because my sister, she's pregnant, and she's like, she had like something kind of like that happen where she's like, there was a house on fire and there was a car accident, and then the next day she's driving in the car and there was a car accident, and then there was a fire somewhere right in the area, and she's like, I wonder if the baby's making me psychic. And I was like, maybe. And then that happened, and I called her, or I texted her. No, I called her, and I was just like, hey, guess what?
She
Maybe-
may not be making you psychic. Maybe.
I was like, I wonder if your kid's fucking reaching out to me and being like, I'll give it to you now.
Uncle! Oh, dude, that's
shit.
awesome.
It's funny. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. But anyways, so if you want to give the people the rundown one last time where they can find you, that would be amazing. And your War Party Radio, is that a podcast or is that on the radio?
War Party Paranormal Radio is on the KGRA digital broadcasting, so it's like internet radio.
Okay.
It's essentially like you can subscribe through KGRA and listen. They have a bunch of different radio shows on there, but you can watch us on our YouTube page, War Party Paranormal YouTube. Shows every Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. And every week they have different guests, and like sometimes we'll do more of like our own investigations as a team, and we'll get a bunch of us together and talk about it and show clips. That's one thing we do, show clips of the investigations, and so we have that going on. And then as I mentioned also earlier, Eric and Mike have this show on Paraflix. So it's called The Haunted Files. So if you're a subscriber on Paraflix, go check that out. If you're not, they have a special right now. You get 25% off the annual subscription with the code is The Haunted Files. Yeah, go check them out because they're doing really cool stuff. And honestly, go show some support to everybody on our team, man. I'm sorry, The Haunted Files 25. That's the code for the 25% off subscription. But go check out Jenny and Armando, Mr. and Mrs. 305. Go check them out, man. JP, the Ghost Dad, he's doing it big on TikTok, blowing up, showing his live investigations. Franny on our team, Franny has a Supernatural Eye, her own series that she's been doing. It's basically her story of her becoming an investigator, and season 2 is all about her experiences since joining the team, and she interviews all of us. So everybody has their own little projects going on. I had a podcast for a little bit and decided to take a break from it because it was just it was very research heavy, and the time it's called the Greetings from Florida, and
that's a sweet name.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of fun. It's still on Spotify. If you want to go check that out, it's just different like history. I wanted it to be like a history lesson with a paranormal twist, basically. So we get into some deep history, and then we talk about all the fun stuff with it. So I'll be revisiting that back at some point. I'm trying to restructure it to see how I could manage to make it a little bit easier. But you could find me now that I'm done plugging everybody else. You can find me at Joe Hunts Ghosts on Instagram and on YouTube. Don't do too much on Facebook. It's hard enough to do Instagram alone as it is for me. So
I kind of lost my Facebook page too for this podcast too. I kind of I've been focusing solely on Instagram and just completely forgot that I had a Facebook page.
Yeah, man, that's why. I mean, even my Instagram page is, I'll post. I mostly post pictures with all our teammates and little clips here and there. I have a couple that I'm working on right now to post. The long form video is great, but it's too time consuming, especially that I'm practicing every night. Every night I'm doing meditation, and I'm trying to do this stuff because I'm trying to get this going. So the other stuff has kind of taken a big back seat for me. But Yeah, come follow me. And if you want to reach out, send a message. I like to bullshit with people, so hit me up.
Nice. Well, Joe, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, and I really enjoyed this conversation, and I enjoyed your stories, and I think I'm gonna be looking forward to more of your mediumship stuff, and I'll definitely be checking out your YouTube video, and hopefully, if you do, I will definitely give your podcast a listen to if you revive it. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'll probably
Thank you.
check out what you have on there anyways. But so anyway, so that's the show, guys. If you have any paranormal or supernatural or any kind of conspiracies you want to talk about, you can definitely hit me up at wheretheweirdoneare@gmail.com, or my Instagram. You can send a DM. That's where_the_weird_ones are, because somebody already had that name, so I had to put the underscore in there. So with that being said, give Joe and all of his people a follow. Definitely check out War Party Paranormal radio show. And with that, I bid you adieu and stay weird, my friends.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky, when the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day. Make a wish.